Yeah, sorry, I'm listening to the CHP right now. They're concerned about what might be in the truck, if the driver might be armed or not. It's unclear. As far as the speed goes, the speed's been pretty consistent here, anywhere from 75 to 65. And so at this point, it's a little unclear what they have on their hands here. I'm going to ask my pilot, David, to get right behind the pursuit to help us control the camera here. It's not acting normal as it normally would, but we'll try to hang on to it as much as we can. But here we go, continuing eastbound, and we are moving into the Calabasas area right now. Jeez.
Well, as you can see, the road is wide open with those two black and white units from the CHP behind it. Again, as he said, this is kind of a big U-turn because it started in the San Fernando Valley. He drove all the way out to Newberry Park in Ventura County and basically turned around and headed back the other direction. So obviously, probably heading back to something he's familiar with, which we've seen a zillion times.
100 times.
When these things happen.
Yeah, just a little bit easier for them to be able to navigate oftentimes if they can go back to a neighborhood where they're familiar. But it's interesting that the initial reports came out that the owner of the vehicle was sort of tracking this truck. So possibly it was stolen earlier in the day or yesterday, and then he got sight of it and started tracking it, and then probably, we're guessing, reached out to authorities, and that's when this pursuit happened. Okay, he just passed the Parkway Calabasas exit. That's an area that's very familiar to a lot of people. So
one more time, David.
Then a couple of moments here, he will be he's back in LA County now, but in a couple of moments here, he will be in the Woodland Hills area, still traveling eastbound or southbound on the 101 freeway. And again, the traffic for this time of day is pretty light, very light.
Well, no one's in school right now. You know, the big district starts, LAUSD starts tomorrow, and still it was light coming in this morning too. So interesting. It always makes for a dynamic pursuit depending on if there's traffic or not. But this, he could just keep going as far as he wants. It'll be interesting to see if he exits where he's familiar with it, near Studio City, where this initially started.
Okay, from what I can see on that sign, he just passed the Mulholland Drive and Valley Circle exit. So at this point, he is now in Woodland Hills, again, eastbound on the 101 freeway. Starting to hit a little more traffic. You see some cars there kind of stopped in the middle of the freeway. That's interesting. I don't know what that's all about. Maybe just the sirens kind of startled them a bit, but he's now on the inside lane. And again, that black and white unit from the CHP is right behind him.
Yeah, Glenn and Lou, we are still tracking here, hitting some heavier traffic. It's not really stop and go, it's just slowing down up ahead a little bit. So staying in that number one lane, we shouldn't have a problem getting through the traffic in the next couple miles, but then you have the 405 freeway to contend with, the driver continuing to fail the yield here. I can tell you that early on in the pursuit, when I first heard it, before it became a pursuit, they were tracking it. It was North Hollywood LAPD units that were working with the person that was calling it in and giving them heads up where it was. It was on surface streets in the Studio City area off of Ventura Boulevard, and they picked it up at Vineland and Ventura. Then the CHP, once it got on the freeway, picked it up from the LAPD. So here we are continuing here. Slower speeds, maybe 45 miles an hour.
You had also mentioned that you heard on the scanner where CHP was discussing the issue of not knowing what's inside the truck, and also concerned that there's a chance that he could be armed.
Yeah, it's unclear. They're trying to get more information as to like who it was that took this vehicle, and they're just not sure what's in the vehicle and if that person's armed or not. Mm-hmm. Also, they were talking about spike strips several times in this pursuit. They never were able to get spike strips ahead of the vehicle. The Ventura CHP got involved at one point, but it exited in their area off the 101 freeway northbound or westbound, and then got back on here eastbound the 101. So never a good chance to hit it with a spike strip, but here we coming up onto DeSoto, and it's continuing, and we're looking at I'm looking at the freeway up ahead, and still actually moving pretty good. It looks like all the way to the 405, so we'll see what we get at the 405.
It really is pretty amazing how clear the roads are.
Yeah, Gil, it seems like he has slowed down a bit.
definitely slowed down. I don't know if that's because of the traffic he hit there, but now he's got open lanes. Really, let me come out to a wider shot so you can see that. There are vehicles there, but just kind of being more conservative on the fuel, maybe. Well, that's one of the questions that the CHP was asking, was how much fuel was on this truck or in this truck when when it was stolen. So they were trying to get that information from the initial owner, or from the LAPD, I should say, and we haven't heard back on that.
Okay, now coming up on DeSoto Avenue, and I can tell you from living in that area, he's going to hit. If he has an option of getting off the freeway, there's going to be a lot of exits that he can take between now and the 405 if he decides to do this. But the way the traffic is probably his best bet if he wants to not be stopped is to stay on the freeway. But eventually this will come to an end.
So
right,
if you're
and
just
he's definitely heading back. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if our viewers are just joining us, it's 3:30, and we have been following this pursuit, a stolen vehicle that is being pursued by CHP at this hour. We're on the 101 southbound at this hour. Right now, this pursuit started initially in North Hollywood LAPD pursuing it, and apparently the owner of the vehicle was tracking it as well, and now a driver is in this vehicle from a stolen standpoint and has been driving fast in the 70s, 75 miles an hour at one point, has substantially slowed down here, but not driving super erratically though.
It's not, Lou, and we are anticipating it's going to go back to where it was initially stolen from in the Ventura, near Vineland and Ventura area of LA. But you see the CHP staying right on the tail of this vehicle. They can't do a pit maneuver on this vehicle, not only because of its size, but because of the speed. Although the conditions are pretty ripe for that to happen. If they were able to do that, they would be able to spin that out without any other vehicles being affected at this point with the lighter traffic, but they just can't do that to this larger vehicle, so they have to try to just stay behind it, see if it runs out of fuel, or if they can possibly somehow get a spike strip ahead and puncture those tires. That will definitely help.
All right, the pursuit is now in Tarzana, headed toward Encino, and again, traffic remaining light on the eastbound 101 freeway as this driver of this stolen utility truck continues to head back in the direction where this pursuit all started. Again, he drove westbound or northbound all the way out to Newberry Park in Ventura County and did a U-turn and headed back in the direction toward the city of Los Angeles. And you said he just passed the Tampa Avenue exit in Tarzana. And a couple of miles here, he'll be in the Encino area. I
love that he's using his blinkers when he changes lanes. He just used his left blinker to go into that lane. And, you know, you guys spoke of the spike strip, Gil. Not always that easy. We've seen so many of these pursuits over the years, and watching officers trying to, and deputies trying to throw those spike strips out. It's a tricky game.
It really is. I mean, can you imagine all these lanes here? Now he's getting into a little bit heavier traffic, but for those officers to get a spike strip out in front of this vehicle is almost impossible with all the vehicles on the freeway, and it's so dangerous for the officers to try that anyways, at any time really. But so at this point, I think it's a waiting game to see if they can find out how much fuel was in this truck when it was taken, and see and go from there. Hopefully, you know, for the CHP's sake, it was low on fuel, but so far it's made its way quite a distance, all the way into Newberry Park and then back from Studio City.
All right, again, the traffic continues to be wide open, approaching White Oak Avenue, which is the first exit you will see in Encino, and getting closer to the 405 freeway, which will give them another freeway option. But again, at this point, surprisingly, at a little after 3:30 in the afternoon, traffic is pretty light on the 101 eastbound.
And Gil, you've been listening to the scanners clearly probably from North Hollywood LAPD and now with CHP. Are they confirming that it's just this one driver in the vehicle, or is that unknown as well?
Well, it's unknown to us. They may have said it at some point in the pursuit. In fact, when we launched to this chase, we were actually going to another chase. There was actually 3 pursuits going on at the same time. We came to this one because it was closest to us, but so I lost a little bit of track of this one as we were listening to the first one we were headed to that ended up in Orange County. But this one here is you know, definitely the one I was listening to earlier before all the other ones started, and it wasn't a pursuit at that point, but they were trying to get the locator on it. It has some sort of tracking device. I don't know if it's a cell phone that was in the vehicle or if it's like a LoJack system that's in the vehicle, but they were trying to get locators on it. They were on surface streets in the Studio City area, and that's when LAPD Hollywood Division North Hollywood Division officers got into the pursuit with it, and once it got on the freeway, they handed it off to the CHP. So it's hard to say how many people are on board. It might just be the driver, but you really can't. We really couldn't tell. It looks like the window in the back is tinted, so we can't really see what's in there.
Well, we also mentioned the spare tire up on the right, not knowing this could be tools, it could be electrical. It's, you know, anybody's guess. Originally, we thought maybe a city or some form of government truck, but the closer you look, as Glenn had mentioned, usually there's that seal. This looks much more like a private vehicle. And obviously, with the owner tracking him earlier, trying to figure out if it was, in fact, the vehicle that had been stolen from wherever, his property or possibly from the business.
All right, as this pursuit continues, heading closer to the 405 in Sherman Oaks, joining us on the phone is Ramondo Alexander from the CHP. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
How did this all start? Was this a truck that was stolen from a work site?
As of right now, I don't have the details of how it actually started.
Can you tell us the strategy when you got a pursuit like this, when there's a lot of light traffic? You're just going to just kind of monitor the vehicle until maybe he runs out of gas, or what?
That's one way of handling this pursuit. Our main goal is to make sure that this ends safely. So as of right now, we're just going to keep watching the vehicle and make sure that we're pursuing it safely.
And do you have any information about the driver, or possibly we had heard some chatter possibly on the radio that you guys were discussing if or not he was armed or is armed? And is it just one person driving? Can you confirm that? No one else in the vehicle?
I cannot confirm any of that right now. The only thing that I know is that it's possible a sole occupant. But as far as in weapons, I do not know.
Okay.
You know, at this point, as you said, you just want to monitor this safely, and at least, even though he is being pursued, at least he pretty much is, except maybe speed being a little bit up, he's driving pretty safe at this point, which is certainly good news.
Yes, most definitely. He's not going too fast, but again, it's still a pursuit, and we would like the motoring public to, you know, get out the way. If they see the red and blue lights, safely get out the highway patrol officer's way. Just move over to the right when they can.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because, you know, a lot of us spend a lot of time on the road, and so it's inevitable that something like this will happen. I know it seems to hit me sometimes when I'm on side streets, and you can't help but get nervous when you hear the sirens and looking up and hearing the helicopters. In your opinion and knowledge, can you give us as viewers advice on what exactly we're supposed to do as a driver?
So as a driver and there's a pursuit coming your way, if you see the blue and red lights, you hear the helicopter, yes, it can be nerve-wracking, but just take a deep breath, stay in your lane. If you can hear the officer tell you guys to, you know, move over to the right, move over to the right safely. The last thing we want to do is cause an accident.
So you're saying to the right, just always get over to the right side, out of the way. Okay.
Yes. When those lights are going, definitely move over to the right safely.
Just from your experience, how often does it seem like these suspects always head back to an area, maybe the scene of the, where the pursuit started, or a neighborhood they're familiar with?
It just depends, honestly. Every pursuit is unique. The goal of the suspect is just to get away.
And obviously the goal of the officers is to catch the driver, and we've spoken about spike strips this afternoon as well. It's almost impossible to execute that on a road like this, right? On a freeway?
Well, we could, but we want to do it safely. So when it's heavy traffic, we may utilize a different type of resource. So right now, he's not going too fast, so we will continue to follow that vehicle.
All right, again, this pursuit, he has crossed the 405. He's now in the Sherman Oaks area. Did see Woodman Avenue, so he is approaching Studio City here in the next couple of minutes. Again, slowing down and making a move, and it looks like he's getting off the freeway.
That was a big move.
Bit erratic there, yeah, for sure. Using the shoulder of the road to pass here. He's got heavier traffic and nowhere to go. It's starting to jam as it approaches the 101 interchange. I'm sorry, the 101, 170, and 134. So you see, I'm listening to, well, oh, this is interesting. So because of the size, I thought maybe they wouldn't try to pit maneuver, but they're talking about possibly trying that. We'll see if that happens. They're saying they're not going to do it yet. But if it presents itself, they will try to do a pit maneuver on this vehicle. At the speeds it's going, it's possible they'll be able to get it to spin out of control, but we'll see. They're concerned right now about the heavy traffic, and here's Coldwater Canyon in about, look like about a half mile there. But look at that, passing on the shoulder, going up onto the gore point there a little bit, and he's going to continue to evade those officers right behind, going all the way over, trying to use whatever open lane is available. Here's a trailer there broken down on the side, and we'll see what happens as maybe he'll get off on the next off ramp, maybe not, but really getting close to back where this pursuit started.
Yeah, if he takes Coldwater there, you know, it dips down and then it just stops. So that would be a little awkward. Some of those folks there you can see taking the advice from CHP officers, as we have just discussed, and pulling over to the right and getting out of the way. And it's not just to help the officers, it's also for your own safety. And because you never know, we just saw this guy, he's been somewhat normal driving, and then he made that strong, erratic move to the right. And it's not going to be super easy for him to maneuver this vehicle at high speeds, or even, it's a heavy truck.
Yeah, it is.
And depending on what's inside of it, it can make a big difference. Yeah,
Ramondo Alexander is still with us. Listen, we just heard our guy in Sky 5 talking about a possible pit maneuver. Do you think you need an SUV for that, because this is such a heavy vehicle?
Well, all of our vehicles are capable of doing the pit, but it comes down to if the situation allows for that. It's a lot of vehicles on the freeway, so that's something that we might not use just yet.
Especially with other vehicles around, right?
Exactly, because it's going to create more of an issue. Not only are we pursuing a suspect, we don't know what he's, besides wanted for the stolen vehicle, we don't know if he's armed. Then if, let's say, we were to do the pit maneuver, we can cause multiple accidents, and that's what we don't want to happen.
All right, we're now in Studio City. If you saw just a moment ago, he bypassed the Coldwater Canyon exit. So now he's back over to the middle lanes, so it looks like he's definitely not going to get off on Laurel Canyon.
He'll be in Hollywood pretty soon if he keeps going.
He's getting pretty close.
Yeah. But with that said, it's 3:45 almost, and it's inevitable for him. He is going to hit traffic at some point. You can see a lot of the drivers realizing now that there is a pursuit going on, and they're sort of merging out of the way, allowing for this truck and CHP to move through. Some of them coming to a complete stop. How fast is he going about right now, Gil? Like 35, 40, or is that just the vision from the helicopter? Is he going faster?
My guess is going to be about 30, maybe at the most, because of the traffic. You see the other lanes there going really slow. It's almost bumper to bumper. The freeway is moving, but look at that move all the way to the shoulder. Here comes Laurel Canyon. We'll see if he jumps off as he's on this shoulder of the road here, but trying to find an open lane so the driver can keep moving. That's the driver's deal here, is trying to just keep it moving in this traffic. But again, the traffic is moving. I can see the 101 transition up ahead at the 134. He's not taking that off ramp. He's going to continue on the slow lane, and we'll see what happens. It is the traffic looks like it will open up if he decides to go south 101 into Hollywood. It looks like it is moving up the Cahuenga Pass.
Of course, that might be a little bit different if he manages to make it all the way downtown. At that point, he may hit some pretty heavy traffic.
Well, remember, North Hollywood was the initial respondent to this with LAPD. So as we discuss a lot of times during these pursuits, he may, in fact, be heading back into that familiar area. So it'll be really interesting if he exits anywhere here, and then, you know, oftentimes they'll exit and then a lot of times they just do circles or squares in the neighborhood until they figure out what they're going to do. So we should know that pretty soon here because he's right on top of it.
Yeah, pretty much this is going to be the area where the pursuit started, and we'll see if the driver decides to jump off the freeway and take surface streets. But here comes the interchange and all the way over to the right, and it looks like if he stays in this lane, he'll be committed to the South 101 towards Hollywood. So again, looking ahead up into the Cahuenga, it looks like, at least for now, the southbound lanes are moving pretty smooth going up the Cahuenga Pass.
Meaning there's not a lot of traffic there?
Some traffic, but it is moving a lot better than it's moving here. And there's the transition road, so we'll come out to a wider shot so you can see what I'm seeing. There's the interchange. That's Cahuenga that he's passing now, but he's committed, definitely committed to the southbound 101. And you see how the lanes open up there ahead of the pursuit. Traffic's moving a lot faster, so we'll see what happens as the driver goes up the Cahuenga Pass.
Ramondo Alexander, you're still on the line with us from CHP, and you know, we continue and you guys continue to follow this vehicle. How many respondents are tailing him right now that you know of? Or maybe he's not with us anymore.
I think we lost him.
Yeah.
There were two, it looks like two of them, at least two, possibly three.
It almost looks like
I have
well, maybe 4 or 5.
I have seven.
Seven.
Yeah, seven.
Okay,
yeah,
seven.
it's a lot.
Pretty stretched out, though.
Pretty stretched out, Glenn and Lou. In fact, he just passed Vineland Avenue off-ramp there. This is where the pursuit originally started. So we're back to ground zero, if you can say that, but going now into the Cahuenga Pass southbound. And when he gets on the other side, like Glenn said, it's probably going to bog down quite a bit when it gets into Hollywood.
All right, he is coming up on Lankershim. That would be the exit that a lot of people are familiar with. That's the site of Universal Studios. And after that, that will be Barham. And after Barham, he'll be right down close in our neighborhood.
Yeah, it's always fascinating to figure out what makes them choose a particular exit. I really thought maybe he would turn in North Hollywood area, but possibly he's just familiar with the 101 in this area and knows he's already done the U-turn and turned back around from being up in Ventura. So who knows? And again, we don't know. I think CHP was asking the owner of this vehicle about the gas and the fuel in this vehicle, if it was in fact full or near empty when it was stolen. So that obviously too is a big factor in this pursuit.
And again, surprisingly, for the time of day, the traffic is pretty light here. Now in the Hollywood area, as to getting through the Cahuenga Pass, I'm sure he's close to Barham or he's past that by now. But again, this is a pursuit that started in North Hollywood. He drove all the way out to Newbury Park on the 101. Basically got back on the freeway, heading back in the other direction. And from that point on, the traffic, for the most part of the 101, eastbound or southbound, has been relatively light. As you see here, he's coming through the Cahuenga Pass into Hollywood proper, and at that point, if he doesn't get off the freeway, he'll be headed down toward downtown Los Angeles. And as you can see, traffic's pretty heavy on the other side, and I'm sure the closer he gets to downtown LA, that's probably what he's going to experience.
Well, you know, Gil and Glenn as well, we've covered so many of these pursuits over the years, and it's really interesting. And, you know, this one's almost like a calming pursuit in a way. As a broadcaster following something live like this, it's always so frightening to see a driver drive a vehicle like this erratically, or if they're amped up or aggressive and swerving in and out of lanes, because you're worried for other drivers and people who are on the road. So at least this guy's being somewhat, dare I say, careful here on the road, but it's just so much better because this truck is super heavy. We don't know, it's a utility truck, so we don't know if it's tools inside or if it's electrical or what, or if they're carrying tires, like we saw that tire on the top. You just never know what this vehicle has. And they also mentioned that it's still unclear, it's at least one driver, it's still unclear if he's armed or not.
Yeah. just past Highland Avenue, by the way, so he is definitely here in Hollywood proper now at this point, with a good view of the city skyline and a lot of, I think, 7 exits here in Hollywood he could possibly take if he chooses, Cahuenga being the next one. But it looks like at this point he's going to, he kind of skirts like maybe he will get off, but just continues on the 101 freeway, which at this point is the path of least resistance for him because traffic pretty light on the 101 freeway now southbound, heading from Hollywood down toward downtown Los Angeles.
Well, and the CHP is still talking about possibly getting a spike strip out ahead of it. So
Really?
we'll see if that can happen or not. But it's continuing, like you said, southbound here on the 101 freeway, heading towards downtown LA. And, well, I can tell you, I'm looking up there a couple miles ahead. It looks like about Western. It definitely bogs down. So this driver's going to have to make some decisions here. It's going to stay on the freeway or not when he gets to that point, because it gets, as you know, it gets very narrow there for any kind of shoulder or center divider, or even non-existent at times. So we'll see what happens. But again, a stolen vehicle here out of the North Hollywood LAPD division. They were tracking it and started going into pursuit. Now the CHP has been in pursuit of this now for an hour and passing Gower right now, 101 southbound.
Yep, so he's sneaking up on us at this hour. And Gil, you also mentioned when you guys launched the helicopter, there were 3 pursuits going on at the same time. You picked this one because it was closer, but that's pretty intense with the 3 pursuits going on all at the same time.
Looks like he's making an exit.
Here he is. He's taking Sunset Boulevard, so he's in our backyard basically right now.
And we'll see what the driver decides to do here. Well, let's see if that unit there in the lead tries to do a pit on this turn. This is a good opportunity for a pit maneuver. Yeah. And there it goes.
Watch out.
Oh, look at that, right against that bus.
Wow.
And now
so he is on
westbound.
Hollywood now.
Yeah, Hollywood Boulevard heading west.
I'm losing the camera, David. Go ahead and fly it. Go ahead and fly it. Sorry, guys. Still having some camera problems up here in Sky 5, but you see the driver continuing westbound, and the units that are behind it are CHP, but they're with the central division of CHP. They were handed off from the West Valley division. Here we are on Hollywood Boulevard, and we're going to see what happens as he goes very slowly here westbound.
Again, glad that he's going slowly because, in situations like this, especially with this heavy utility truck, if he blows through an intersection, could be super dangerous for other vehicles. At least he's taken a moment to check out if other cars are coming in a different direction and moving into the heart of Hollywood right now, over by a couple of the hotels there. If he keeps going, he'll eventually be in the heart of tourism, where all the tourists are. Yeah,
well, there's the W hotel right there, or getting close to the W hotel.
Yeah, it's coming
up the next block.
So we're going to try to stay right behind the vehicle as it continues, like you said, into the heart of Hollywood. There's the Pantages, and 27 miles an hour right now as he approaches Argyle.
So this started initially in North Hollywood, so now we're in the heart of Hollywood. Been in Ventura on the 101 northbound and southbound. It's been going on for at least an hour now. This stolen vehicle, it's a utility truck. We're assuming it's a private company work truck. We didn't really see any government seals on it. Authorities are basically saying they are thinking that it's one driver. It's unclear if he's armed or not. He has been driving pretty cautiously throughout this pursuit, but he did jump off the 101 and onto the Hollywood exit and nearly T-boned with a bus. That was a close call, but again, now just cruising through the heart of Hollywood. He's a block away, basically, from the theater there.
Yeah, I think, at this point, he probably knows he doesn't have much chance of getting away. He's just trying to drag it out as long as he possibly can. Maybe looking for some kind of miraculous escape, but it looks like at this point that's not going to happen. So it's just a matter of time now. kind of a waiting game, a moving waiting game. Eventually, either he'll finally pull over and give up. But one thing is good is he could very well be flying down Hollywood Boulevard.
Yep.
And fortunately, he is not doing that because the traffic is light enough where he probably could get away with that. But for some reason, he's not doing that, which is a good thing.
Well, and I think also a good thing here, and Gil, you may be able to speak to this as well. They've been talking about doing a pit maneuver or spike strip, rather, for quite a while. And maybe in this situation, it might be easier to throw that spike strip down because he's on residential streets.
Yeah, that could be a good opportunity, but I can tell you right now the CHP is asking for the LAPD to take over the pursuit again. So it would be Hollywood Division officers that will re-engage here if and when they do that. But for now, CHP staying in the pursuit, coming into the intersection here, and still westbound on Hollywood Boulevard, right at Highland.
Well, I thought for a second there he was going to stop right in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah.
He's driving really slow at this point. Maybe he's got a fuel problem. That might be the problem now.
It's true.
That could be.
Or he realizes he's there in the heart of Hollywood looking around.
There's the Roosevelt.
You know, we've seen stranger things. Remember, several times we've seen pursuits where the driver and the passenger go through and honk at people and wave at everyone. Remember the one that happened on Hollywood Boulevard? He was going the opposite direction. He was going east, and they were like waving and honking and throwing confetti, and it was so strange. So it's not really crowded down there typically as we would usually see like in the summer, and so that's good news too.
Slowly by the theater there and then continuing westbound. There's the LAPD airship overhead.
Yeah, he's right at Orange.
Yes.
He is going at a snail's pace at this point. Very odd.
Okay. Still having some struggles with the camera. I really apologize about that, but the pursuit continuing here. They are westbound on Hollywood Boulevard, and the CHP staying in it for now, but I can hear the LAPD talking about it, trying to get their units to take over the pursuit, but for now it's CHP.
So are you familiar in terms of protocol why the CHP would be asking LAPD Hollywood to take over? Just they're more familiar with the area, they know the streets and jurisdiction?
Yeah, for two reasons. It was initially their pursuit, the LAPD's pursuit, and CHP, well, there goes the camera. Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to try to stow this and get it back into shape here. But the pursuit started with LAPD, and once it got on the freeway, that's CHP's jurisdiction. And so in that case, that's when the CHP took over the chase. But now it's back on surface streets in the LAPD's jurisdiction, so it's the CHP is going to want to hand it off sooner than later.
This, and you know, Glenn, you mentioned this could be a fuel problem.
Yeah, usually when they start driving slow like that, I mean, he may be, you know, he may have looked at the gas gauge and he's on red, and again, I think at this point he knows that he's probably done. It's just going to drag it out as long as he can to keep his freedom, you know, but. This is essentially over. It's just a matter of where he's either going to run out of gas or finally pull over. I mean, there's no escaping at this point.
We've also seen a lot of cat and mouse before where they'll slow down and then the pursuing officers will get right behind and then they'll take off. We haven't seen that behavior from him. This is more just he was going 70 to 30 and now he's just poking along for some reason. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so now the LAPD has taken over. You see that lead vehicle there? That is the Hollywood division that's in pursuit now. And they're talking about trying to get units up ahead to do that spike strip. So we'll see if we see that happen. It should. This narrow street is a perfect spot for it to get a spike strip up ahead and get this pursuit stopped. They're maybe doing it, well, I won't give it away where, but soon they should be trying to set up a spike strip ahead. Yeah, especially as slow as he's going, and they can kind of tell that he hasn't really even veered off of Hollywood this whole time, and you know, obviously the Hollywood LAPD knows this jurisdiction, this area so well, so that would be fantastic to be able to throw that down and make this guy be unable to drive this truck. I'm joined by Pedro Rivera. He's here now with me as well. Thanks for jumping in the seat. Again, this pursuit Still being pursued by CHP. They're trying to switch over to LAPD Hollywood, and we're following the stolen utility truck that is now on Hollywood Boulevard, headed west, and no idea where he's going to head once he hits the T-bone.
Yeah, there were several times where I thought the guy was going to stop, right? We saw Hollywood Boulevard when he was there at the biggest tourist section possible, right? El Capitan Theater, and right in that area, you have a lot of pedestrians, a lot of tourists who are walking in the roads, a lot of times not paying attention. But as you can see here, this is what he does. He slows down at each intersection. You can probably tell it looks both ways before then taking off again. But driving very slowly, at least that's the safe part in all this. But you just want this individual to stop. You can imagine if this person was speeding, especially in a truck like that with what could be in the back of that truck could be certainly hazardous to the officers involved and everyone involved. So at least right now we're taking a look as this vehicle is still heading on Hollywood Boulevard, I believe, in the same direction, slow, slow, slow.
And does he, Gil, can you tell, does he have his window? He has his window down. Now he's crossing over. Okay, so he's going to go left. Is this Laurel? What did he take a left on?
Let me see here. Southbound, it's Fairfax. It is on Fairfax now.
Okay.
So that's where they were talking about a spike strip. He may have seen it up ahead and decided to turn, but it's heading now towards Sunset from Hollywood, and they were talking about trying to get that spike there at Fairfax.
And we saw that he had his hand out the window, kind of leisurely just driving along. Does it look like no one's in the passenger at this point?
Yeah, we haven't been able to see. Also, we spoke with a CHP representative, and they said that it's unclear if there is someone else in the vehicle with him. Now we're definitely on Sunset Boulevard now, and we're headed back east. So he's going to be very close to us pretty soon here in Hollywood. Again, he would have the option, if he keeps going in this direction, he'll have the option to get back on the 101. He could go north or south, and we've seen him start in North Hollywood and then...
Oh, going into the left lane here.
Oh,
here's
a spike strip. They're throwing it out right there, and he's going to try to get him. Let's see. Nope. The officers had to take cover because the guy veered towards them. They did not hit the spike strip. They got it out there, but just not quite in the right position, and they couldn't operate it. But the officers having to dive behind their vehicles to take cover. But that's unfortunate. But, you know, there's plenty of opportunity ahead, especially at this speed, to get other units with spike strips ahead and try that once more.
And again, right now you're watching a CHP pursuit at this point. Still CHP officers, I believe, behind this gentleman. This is in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, heading eastbound, just stopping his vehicle now.
Okay. And can you pull out a little bit? Where is he? Is he basically just, what area?
There's 7-Eleven.
Can't tell.
Gardner is going to be the next closest street.
Okay.
Yeah. Gardner, you see the traffic stop in progress. We're going to try to hold here, David, so the camera behaves. We'll see if this is it. Maybe he's out of gas, maybe not, but we'll see what happens. The door has not opened. I haven't seen any keys come out. I'm going to try to squeeze in here a little tighter, David, if you can hold it real still. And
if I were those opposing cars, I would want to get away from him.
Get away.
But now, obviously, there's a little bit of a traffic jam there. Okay, so this is the first time we've seen him stop, right, Gil? This is the first time. I mean, he's definitely gone slow speeds, and this is the first time he's now come to a stop. It could be a fuel issue. He just avoided that spike strip, and now he is sitting in the vehicle, and obviously CHP probably announcing to him, you know, giving him commands to get out of the vehicle, but clearly nothing's happening yet.
You have a lot of people in that area as well. I mean, there's a convenience store right there. You see people in that parking garage. Everyone's now moving towards the back to kind of avoid the street at this point.
Yeah, it looks like there's a FedEx right there, so people parking in that area. I'm super familiar with Sunset, but for some reason I can't figure out. Okay, there's. So he is getting out. Okay, it looks like he is complying with CHP with his arms up.
Yeah, and it looks like he is complying finally. He's turning around. Trying to hold the camera here as steady as possible, but it is failing on us. But yeah, definitely, I think it's just the driver only, and it is now LAPD that's doing the stop here. CHP has completely pulled off of it, but we'll see what happens here with the driver.
He's walking backwards now, probably listening to commands by the officers there on scene. Just thankful that looks like it's coming to a peaceful end at this point. Haven't seen anyone get out the passenger side either, so giving you an indication that this person was probably by themselves.
A lot of times they'll come out by themselves, and then if there is someone else, they'll sometimes come out second because they're probably afraid at that point and listening to the officers. But seeing that him comply here and get on the ground until he is handcuffed and in their custody, you know, anything can happen. But it's nice to see that. It's interesting also if this was him deciding to do this or if he in fact ran out of fuel. Because in the last, I'd say 20 minutes, he went pretty slowly on the side streets, like to a very slow speed. And we all know, myself included, when you're running out of gas, you can't really go fast anymore.
No, you can't.
Yes, not a good feeling. Well, the great thing about this, and we'll watch this as LAPD hopefully takes him into custody. This pursuit started about an hour ago in the North Hollywood area. A stolen business utility truck, privately owned, we're assuming, because it didn't have any logos, government signs. Initially, the owner, and see, you can see the officers there checking the other side of the vehicle to make sure no one else is in there.
And they just cleared that other side, so they're going to take him into custody, move in with a team, and make the arrest on the driver. But here we are, I believe it's been about an hour and a half on this pursuit at least, since LAPD first tried to pull it over. It was North Hollywood Division officers that finally found it after the vehicle was being tracked. And it took off on them. It got on the freeway all the way out towards Ventura, and then back. Here comes the team in for the arrest. And again, I apologize for the camera. It is just failing us up here. But it looks like the driver now is in custody. Sorry about that, guys.
It's okay. It's all good. I feel like I'm like on a roller coaster.
But they are making the arrest, as you can see.
Try to look out the window if you can, so you don't get sick.
But it does look like, and you can see it from the helicopter yourself too, it does look like they're beginning to get him into custody, be able to lead him back to the patrol car.
Yeah, they just called it in custody, and fortunately no one was injured in this entire pursuit. All right, great job, Gil Levis. We appreciate it. And for Pedro Rivera and also the entire KTLA newsroom, I'm Lou Parker. We will have more news starting at 5 o'clock.